Hello, my lovelies. I hope you're doing absolutely wonderful tonight. Welcome back to a new episode of Draw and Smile, a series where we can just sit back, relax, talk about what's going on in the art commentary, talk about things related to what I'm drawing, a little bit of art advice, techniques, and probably gonna get off topic. So grab your favorite cup of tea, grab your favorite type of plushies, or get comfy wherever you are, whether you're sitting in a chair, whether that you are laying in bed, anywhere that you feel most comfortable. And I hope you lovelies are doing wonderful today or night, wherever the day is, if it's even day, night. So yeah, we will get started with what I am drawing in the video. So I am drawing a character from the series Gravitation, which honestly used to be my favorite anime a long time ago when I really first started getting into anime. And it was like one of those first animes that I discovered on my own. And it was kind of an important moment for me because there are some moments in which a lot of people told me about animes and I would watch it, like say Death Note or something. But being able to discover an anime on its own in a way that it's actually pretty obscure nowadays, since you can find a plethora of animes to watch if you just go on the right type of sites and you just see an anime that looks at your interest. But back in the day, or at least in the earlier times before internet became super popular, you know, there were some times where you were just browsing along and you see like these like anime magazines, in which that's how I discovered Gravitation. And at first, I thought Gravitation was a shoujo story because Suichi Shendo, the character that I'm drawing, as per mentioned before, looks a bit more feminine. And at the time when I was 13 years old getting in the series, I thought that Suichi was a female. And then I slowly started watching the show, and I come to realize that Suichi was a guy, and he was also having romantic interest in another male, and I never questioned it. I was like, cool, awesome, I'll continue watching it. And back in the day, I fell in love with this series. The music was great, I really liked the characters back in the day, I really liked Suichi and Yuki as a couple, even though nowadays I have a more superior LTP. But, even though I don't hold it to a very high regard as I used to, I still hold it dear in my heart as being an anime that really got me into discovering a lot of other shows by myself, just browsing all around and just having a good time just getting into shows that I really like just by myself. And yeah, I don't know, I still consider it a nice story of how I got into a series. So let's talk about the drawing. I am redrawing a scene from a particular episode, which it is episode 3 of Gravitation. I specifically remember that scene because I watched it over and over and over again because I thought it was the most cutest episode in the world, even though I didn't really know half of the context of the show because, hello, I was 13 years old and they were like throwing like heavy NSFW like scenes that I didn't get at the time, but now I'm like, oh, I see. So I always thought this scene was cute. I always thought this scene with Suichi and Yuki was cute, which I will explain because right now I'm just doing line art in the commentary, in which line art for me, I tried doing more thinner outlines. I didn't really like how that turns out with my style, so I kind of went back in doing more thicker outlines, and I feel like for me personally that makes the art pop a lot more than doing thinner outlines. A lot of artists can do thin outlines really good, but personally for my art style, I think thick, very thick, well, not even really thick, it's about, yeah, it's like 7 sizes big. I realize how weird that sounded, but you know what, that's what it is. But yeah, thicker for me is better in my art, you know. I think thin and thick are good, but for me, I like thick. But anyways, yeah, Like, I know everyone's doing the whole Sailor Moon redraw meme, but I'm over here always redrawing so many Gravitation screenshots that at this point I'm like, why can't I just remake the anime at this point? But anyways, I'm getting off topic. I'll talk about that later on. I'll talk about the scene that is portrayed in the drawing. So, like I said, it's from episode 3 of Gravitation, and it is a scenario in which it is Iriyuki and Suichi Shindo sitting on the couch, very close because they are very gay, and like Suichi brings up like a VHS tape, and they're watching like Middle Grasper and all that stuff, and Suichi goes on this tangent being like, I want to be just as good as, you know, Middle Grasper, which is a band that he is very fond of, and he's like going on about it, and then Iriki's like, you're stupid. you're being dumb, and then Suichi's like, what? What did you say? He's like, you're being an idiot, and he's like, I have you know, I can talk about my emotions. And then like at that moment, Yuki grabs his face, and he's just like, right now I think you're being very cute. And then I don't know, and he makes that little blushy face, and I was just like, god dang it, that's a very cute scene. It reminds me of another anime that I redrew, a very blushy scene from. I don't know why, I really like when characters blush. I think it's just a moment of vulnerability that you see a more softer side of a character. It's weird. I don't know. I think when characters blushes, it's just the most absolutely adorable thing. Because like I said, it makes the character feel more comfortable with another character. And it's cute. I like it a lot. And it's just a cute scene where like Yuki says that Suichi's being cute. Even though he's kind of being a tsundere a little bit more earlier. So I mean, I just had to. It's so cute. I just had to always watch that over and over again. And it still plagues me today. I have this weird curse where I just love, you know, scenes where characters get super duper blushy. Whether I'm watching an anime or just like reading a manga, I'm like, that's cute. That's pretty adorable. And I do that a lot with my character as well too. I like the sense of vulnerability and trust with another character. And that's why I'm really interested in more romantic types of stories, because, you know, characters get close to one another, they, you know, show their more sensitive side, and I'm always a sucker for that, honestly. And, yeah, I really enjoy drawing these scenes over and over again. But yeah, I have, like, a collection of, like, Gravitation redraw pictures throughout the years. I've, like, done them ever since, like, 2011 or 12, so I've been doing this for like a long while now, over like 10 years at this point. So it's a weird tradition I strangely keep up with, and I have years where I accidentally skip it, but I'm like, no. I never miss a beat in forgetting Gravitation. Like, there are just some moments where I just go back and watch the show, despite of me having a lot of issues with it now. Like I said, it's a very, like I said, it's a very important show to me that it really got me into looking more into other shows on my own, getting more into the boys love genre, the yaoi genre, and that's why I know so many yaois and BLs to this day, and that's why I've created the Yaoi Closet series, to look back at all the stuff that I, you know, found on my own, because I just, you know, it's at the time where you can just watch anime on YouTube, but it's like in 3-parters, part 1 to 3. It's like, those are the old days. You didn't have Crunchyroll, you didn't have Funimation, you didn't have a Sentai Film. No, you had to just search, and hopefully you don't get a virus on your computer. But, you know, of course you still have sites like GoGo Anime or like Anime Show or whatever. I mean, I always appreciate people going on the right websites to watch anime legally, or supporting it on DVD and such, etc. But I understand that some people don't have the resources that they need, so of course, like sites like GoGo Anime, I believe, are the better sites to watch anime. But I digress. It really got me into looking forth into finding more boys love stories and yaoi stories, such as Fake, Shikisho, Garkon Haven, and a lot of underground stuff that a lot of people don't know about, which I will bring up when me and Mizer do more of the yaoi closet. We will just keep on going until the until the lake is dry and there's no yaoi, which is impossible. There's always yaoi to a lot of degree. And excuse me if I accidentally bursted the mic. Yaoi is it's an interesting topic to talk about because honestly nowadays there is definitely a lot more better representation of same-sex couples, not just in the boys love department, but in any department when it comes to LGBT people, whether it be a representation of trans people, of gender fluid people, of non-binary people, of lesbians, bisexuals, pansexuals, gay people, etc. It's definitely evolved. People have become a lot more knowledgeable of these types of people and how to normalize them in a scenario that doesn't make them alienated to other people. And when I was getting into the whole, like, when I, discovered, like, yaoi and BL, it was around the time where Julie Romantica really popped at the time. Like, it was a very big yaoi in the community, and people would always talk about it as being a really good representation of gay couples, or just really just a really good same-sex relationship. But to me, in honest opinions, and it's okay if you still like Julie Romantica, I am not dissing anybody who likes the show, but I really don't think it's a good, not only a good same-sex relationship, but a good relationship in general. I don't know, it's something about Julie Romantica, and even to an extent of Seikaichi Hatsukoi, it just kind of rubs me the wrong way just looking back on these shows. Just like, I don't know, like, something about these couples just don't feel right to me. And I'm not saying that Suichi and Yuki have a good relationship either. Like, having their relationship would have been solved. It was just better communication, But there are some more darker past experiences with Yuki's side, which is kind of half understandable, but at the same time, communication is always good in a relationship. I mean, that's what I get from it, even though I've never personally been in a relationship myself, but I can just grasp that even with regular relationships. Yeah, it's some of the problems in a lot of yaois and a lot of BLs, and there's a lot of romantic relationships would have been super solved if communication first even popped into that person's mind. But yeah, the whole thing about that tangent is I've discovered a lot when it comes to writing a romantic story. Half of the stories that I write for my stories are romantic because, like I said, I really like the delving into relationships between two different types of people in different scenarios, or any of that kind of stuff, etc. And yeah, but I've found better stories when it comes to same-sex relationships. I've been surprised by some good iterations of same-sex relationships or LGBT subjects in manga and in anime. Given was actually a really big surprise to me because I didn't expect to really like it as much, but I did, and I'm now collecting the manga because the manga is now being released by Subline Manga, and it's already on volume 2, and I'm loving the art. I'm still just feeling the feels, because oh my gosh, it deals. I'm not gonna get into spoiler territory because I know a lot of people have not watched Given, but I recommend it. I really do. It goes into really dark territory, and I think it does it really well. Like I said, it still has issues in it there, but it's definitely a lot better than a lot of past BL and yaoi, so I give kudos to Given. We will get back to this conversation after I talk a little bit about the drawing, because, this is the series where I also become off topic too. And this is something I want to bring up back with Gravitation. So, let me talk about the art direction in both the Gravitation anime and the Gravitation OVA. So, what I'm trying to do is give Suichi kind of like this more darker skin color, or at least more tanner color, because here's the thing. The OVA for Gravitation, it has Suichi Shindo's skin color be a little bit more tanner, while with Iriyuki, his, and I know I'm saying their first name and last names, I don't know, they're the only anime characters, or any character in general, that I say their first and last names. It's funny. I don't know, it just kind of rolls up the tongue really well. it's one of those scenarios where in the OVA, Suichi's skin color is more tanner, and then Eriyuki's skin color is more pale, which I really like the different skin contrasting, because Suichi Shendo is always out and about doing stuff, while Yuki is a novelist and he's always writing inside. So I was like, cool, I really like that color dynamic. It's a different color dynamic between the two, because Suichi's colors are more warm, and while Yuki's colors are a little bit more colder, at least to me when I watch the OVA. But if you look at the 2000s anime, I really forgot what year that the television show for Gravitation was really made in. I know it was like the early 2000s. Their skin color is pretty much the same. Like, they both have pretty much both pale skin colors, which I'm like, I really like the more skin color diversity between Suichi and Eriyuki, because it makes sense, because Suichi's outside and then Yuki's inside all day, so you have like an extrovert and an introvert. Like, I don't know, I always find it pretty weird that like they drastically changed like the skin color, which in the skin color made more sense in the OVA, because, you know, previously Suichi is out and about while Eriyuki is always inside, so it's weird. I don't know, it's very, very strange. Yeah, right now I'm just coloring, kind of getting close between the anime colors, but, you know, keeping colors that won't hurt my eyes, because let me tell you what, the Gravitation anime, the series, its colors are very saturated. Meanwhile, with the OVA, which, by the way, the OVA for Gravitation is great. I actually really highly recommend watching the OVA, even if you haven't read the manga or seen the original anime prior, because it's kind of like its own little story. You kind of get the gist of everyone's relationship to one another. You get the gist of the characters. I think it does it really well. And also, fun fact about the Gravitation OVA, the director who directed the OVA also directed Excel Saga, so that's why it's so funny. It's actually really funny on its own. If you've never seen Gravitation, I highly recommend it. You can get it on DVD, get a Blu-ray. Well, if you get it Blu-ray, then that also means you get the series as well, which doesn't really has a lot of quality as the OVA does, but still. But I really like it, the colors in the OVA, because it's nice to look at, and it's a nice muted kind of color. And while in the anime, in the series of the anime, it's too saturated, because Gravitation, I believe, came out around the time in which anime was jumping to digital animation, and I feel like a lot of anime haven't really perfected getting used to digital animation yet, and that's why, you know, you see a couple of good animes that came out around the time. I'll give an example. Fruit Basket, the original one, at the remake, which, by the way, remake it's good. I recommend watching the Fruit Basket remake. They're finally getting into the stuff they didn't tackle on the original anime, which is great. But even I really still like the original anime from the early 2000s. You could definitely see there are still some there's a lot of weird scenery things that just don't look good today. You can notice like a lot of weird like line art issues, a lot of shading issues in the anime. And I feel like Gravitation has the weird end of it all. Like, with Fruit Basket, it still had its very beautiful moments in its animation. It's just more in the lighter scenes, I guess, it looks really weird. But I'm not saying that Fruit Basket, the earlier anime, looked bad. I just noticed that in a lot of scenes it had a rougher time, and the more earlier scenes. That makes sense? I don't know if it's making sense. It still looks good, you know? Fruit Basket anime still looks good. Seems like all the characters were always on a model. Even though some scenes kind of looked a little wonky, there were still some really good scenes in the anime that really stood out on its own, especially in the emotional moments, because Fruit Basket is an anime about emotions, about characters, relationships, and that's why it's my favorite shoujo of, like, ever. But for Gravitation, it has, like I said, the weird end of it all, because Gravitation really had a weird consistency issue. Oh yeah, I should probably talk about the drawing, sorry. I mean, this does portray to the theme of what I'm drawing, but I'm shading right now. Usually from when I shade, I usually use more cooler colors, such as blue for shading, because it always looks nicer when it especially comes to the skin color. Blushes! We're doing blushes, peeps. I love blushes. Like I said, it shows a character's vulnerability. and it's cute. I really like it a lot. Maybe that's why tsuneris have grown on me. Because when tsuneris blush, like Hyo in Fruit Basket, I'm like, my man. He's opening up his door. He's opening up his little Kokoro. I love it. But anyways, but yeah, Gravitation had a weird consistency issue because you had one episode, I'll use an example, episode 4, and yes, I do remember specific episodes' qualities because I watch this anime like every year, so yeah. So you have episode 4, which it's the best looking episode of the series because characters look consistent, the colors didn't look as saturated, the line art was really good, the characters' faces really good, especially like Suichi and Yuki, like especially Yuki. I'm like, god dang, you're very attractive in that scene right there, like god dang. And it was very expressive, like I don't know, I had like literally nothing wrong with episode 4 at all. Like it was like the flawless episode of the entirety of the series. And then you can talk about literally the last episode being episode 3, which is, you know, the scene that where I'm drawing. It has weird line art consistency because some line art scenes it literally looks like it was drawn in MS Paint. I'm like, what is happening? How? Huh? Like what? Like who accidentally put the storyboard in MS Paint instead of like, I don't know, an actual like animation software? It just looks so off in the colors and the shading and the highlights. It just all felt so wrong. And oh gosh, it had such a weird consistency. I don't understand, and it did this to the entirety of the series. Like, wow, this episode looks great. I can't wait to watch good quality for the next episode. Oh, oops, I accidentally used MS Paint in this episode again. My bad. Yeah, I confused the applications, you know. It's like, oops. But in the end, it was early digital animation, so I give it the benefit of the doubt. There's some episodes it shines, some episodes it doesn't, but hey, no anime is perfect. Unless you're like, I don't know, Trigun. My Psycho 100. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, now we're shading hair, which shading hair is my absolute favorite. I'm just doing the flats right now. Later on, I do sort of blend everything together to make it sort of like have this 3D effect, or just make it kind of pop out, make it more soft, make it, yeah, just blending everything together basically, just all of that and everything. So another thing you might notice in the video are these pop-in music, pop-in soundtracks that I'm playing in the video. Well, my friend, the greatest thing about Gravitation, the one thing that both the OVA and the anime have in common is that they have really good music. And I highly recommend people listen to the Gravitation soundtrack, whether it's from the anime or from the OVA. They're both great. I literally have both of them, like, right in front of my face, physically, because, oh my goodness, this music is great. They actually have a band, a singer for Surichi Shindo's voice actor, and I believe for Little Grasper itself. I will put the names of these respectful artists on the screen so you can check them out if you're interested, because, you know, of course, without connecting it to Gravitation, the dude has done a lot of music that is really good, so I highly recommend listening to them. They're great. I love it. But yeah, it's like this kind of like techno-y, sort of rockish, sort of popish. I don't know. It's weird. It's interesting to describe. I don't know. It's like it's very techno-y, very electronic. It does a lot, and it all sounds really great. And then there's some emotional tracks, because in your animes and your stories, you gotta have your emotional tracks. So keep an eye out for that too. It's not just like poppy, like electronic rock music. There's also gonna be a slice of you know, your emotional tracks, because oh no, somebody's did a oopsie and everyone's kind of upset, or you know, which I like conflict. Conflict is good. I like me some dramatic stuff. I like me some tension, and the music, especially stuff like Rain from the OVA, sounds awesome. I don't know, it's just a really good track. So yes, highly recommend the Gravitation soundtrack. I never hear people talk about it, so I will talk about it, and I have been talking about it, and I'm telling you to give it a listen because it's pretty great. Another thing to talk about with Gravitation and its art is the manga. Oh, the manga. the manga that went into a weird direction after volume 8. It went off the rails in the story. But I'm not talking about the story today. I will do a review of both the manga and the anime in the future because, surprise, surprise, they actually have a good amount of differences between the two. And that I believe that the anime was made before the manga was ever finished. Well, the original manga, I still don't know if Extra is still continuing or Gravitation EX. I never kept up with that series. I just kind of lost interest after the fact. Manga has a lot of issues. The beginning of Gravitation, it's great, and I'm talking about the art. The art, I really like the art direction in the beginning of the series, or half of the series, and it has like this very like 90s, I mean, of course it's gonna have a 90s style because the manga first started in the 90s. It had that great 90s style to it. Oh, back to the drawing, I usually add airbrush, more of a darker a more darker airbrush color to I don't know, just makes it look nice. And now I'm just doing like that more purplish background to match the scene. But yeah, the beginning of the manga, like the characters look really nice, especially Soichi and Yuki, Hiro, like everyone looked like their age. Like Soichi literally looked like he was like 18, and Iriyuki literally looked like he was like 20 or something. It's like great, awesome. The characters look amazing. It's very expressive. It has a good control over, you know, serious scenes and comedic scenes because, highly speaking, Gravitation is a romantic novel. Not novel. Well, there actually are novels, and I have both of them. Do you want me to do a dramatic reading of the Gravitation novels? Let me know. I will do it on the channel. Mangas, they're like half comedy, half romantic. And it had a good balance of it. It knew when to pause on the comedic sense and actually tackle the more serious scenes in the manga. And it all went fine and dandy. I'm like, okay, no issues here, you know, great. I mean, it's weird that Soichi and Yuki, like, kiss and make out in the first volume, but hey, like I said, it's like early days of boys love manga, and we've gotten better at this. In some cases, maybe not. In some cases, there are some in which a man dates someone who was elementary school. But you know what? That's just a couple of bad seeds. We have the good seeds and we also have the bad seeds. It happens. It's bound to happen. Every genre has a good seed and every genre has a bad seed. But in any case, it's all fine and dandy for the Gravitation manga until, I don't know, past a certain point where the art style slowly begins to change. You're like, okay, I mean, it's changing, but at least everyone looks like their age and looks good to the eye. And then you get to the last volume and then look at like Gravitation Extra and you're like, whoa man, is Yuki dating a child? But then you realize it's supposed to be Shuichi Shindo, which by the way, he's like 19 to 20 at this point. I'm like, what? Oh, I guess I'm not supposed to call the Keikatsu, or I think I said in the police. I guess he is supposed to be dating a grown boy, a grown man, but he looks like a freaking 2-year-old. And this doesn't happen to Shuichi Shindo, it happens to like Ryorichi, who was supposed to be 30. He is supposed to be in his 30s, but he looks like he's 2. And oh gosh. I mean, Iriyuki doesn't look that bad, but he could look a little bit better. The only child who should be looking like the child is the actual child in Gravitation Extra, which was Riku! Riku! I didn't know Riku was in Gravitation. Shoot. That's news to me. But yeah, I don't know what happened. It felt like the art style went backwards. And maybe it's just not my cup of tea of art style, but for me, it's weird. It's strange. And also, at this point, the manga is too chaotic to even keep up with. Suddenly you have scenes where there is a giant robot panda. Yes, this is real. I am not making this up. There are too many comedic moments happening while there were supposed to be dramatic moments happening. It's just a cluster, and it is hard for the reader to even focus on what the heck is even going on, because it's just too random and it's too chaotic. Like, what happened? Like, you had a good sense of balance, the creator, which I believe her name is Maki. Like, I don't understand what happened to that good balance of drama, a good balance of serious scenes, a good drama of comedy. And now it's just all over the place. Like, you just poured a bunch of, like, arts and crafts everywhere. And I can't find anything because everything's just covered in glue and glitter. Like, everything's sticking together. Nothing is sorted right. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Anyways, yes, I'm now blending everything on the skin together, which, by the way, I really am proud of how I usually shade the skin. I also, art tip of today. It is good to be kind to yourself. It is good to give yourself prompts. I don't think it's something that every artist needs to, you know, realize about themselves. Like, hey, it's good to realize in what you're good in, you know? It's not trying to, like, you know, raise an ego or anything. It's to give yourself credit, because as artists, we can be very hard on ourselves, and I believe that in times where we are really proud of ourselves, we should be proud of ourselves. Like I said, I'm really proud of the skin shading that I've gotten done. And I know in a lot of scenarios that you lovelies have felt very proud in what you've accomplished, whether it's in art, music, writing. You should be proud of yourselves. Don't let anyone tell you that you shouldn't be, or that you're just trying to stroke your ego. That is not the case. That's just, you know, in a scenario that it's a self-loving and self-care scenario that you've actually realized that you are improving and that your hard work is paying off. So give yourself a pat on the back if that is the scenario. You are doing great. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. So that is my art lesson, or that's just like a lesson from anyone who's basically creating or making something. You know, I mean, it's good to be it's good to recognize on what you need to work on, but it's also as important to realize what you can accomplish and, like I said, pat yourself on the back of what you've gotten, sort of gotten in the bag as far as learning about something. So yeah. Anyways, back to my Gravitation manga rant. It's everywhere. Like I said, the beginning of the manga was really great, had no problems, and I don't know what happened. Somebody ate too many pixie sticks and they just went crazy. I don't know. It's weird. And like that little weirdness was input into the OVA, but it was funny. Like I said, there was good balance in the comedic moments in the OVA. Like, it knew when to be dramatic and when to be funny. Like, there's a lot of good comedy shticks, and like I said, it was by the same guy who did a Cell Saga, so he knows what he's doing. So that's my little rant about the manga. Just like more art-wise, more pacing-wise. I'll probably go into more depth in it with the story and all in a future review. But yeah. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it in what I really have to say in the more art department of things of Gravitation. Let's talk about the guy I'm drawing, because, you know, you gotta get in context of why I'm even drawing this character. I really, really like Shuichi Shindo, and even after all these years later, I still really do, because he's just a dork. He's this very excitable, energetic, outgoing dork. And yes, a lot of people say that his voice can be annoying because he always says, like, Yuki! And all that stuff. Like, I understand. Energetic characters can be done wrong and can be coming off as very annoying and too optimistic. But I don't know. I guess I've always vibed with Shuichi. Even though he can be very loud and kind of obnoxious to a lot of people and to a lot of characters in the show, I don't know. I really enjoy that even though he's very outgoing and can be a little bit ignorant and kind of butting into people's situations, he tries to, like, help out as much as he can. He tries to be optimistic to, like, be optimistic to yourself. Another life lesson, be optimistic to yourself. But to other characters in the show, like, he tries to really understand, Yuki with his certain situations in the show. Like I said, won't go into spoiler territory because, hey, if you want to check out Gravitation, you totally can. But in a lot of character situations, he tries to, understand them. He he just tries to cheer everyone on and not give up, and even in a slump, you know, other characters like to cheer him on. I don't know, it's just kind of like this circle of appreciation, you know. And I don't know, like I said, he's just a freaking dork and kind of cute. He's my son. I will protect Shuichi Shindo from anyone who doubts him. I will protect this boy. I've just met him, but I will protect him. And I mean, like, I've known about Shuichi's existence for like years now, so I will protect my fictional son. So I mean, like, he's not going to beat my favorite fictional son, Sora from Kingdom Hearts, but he's up there. But anyways, enough about me spewing my love for Shuichi, my boy. Let's talk about the highlights I'm given. I like giving like him like little like shines on like his lips and like his schnaz, and I usually like to do like little dots on like the cheeks as kind of like a, I don't know, it makes it pop out a little bit, because honestly for me, when it comes to more close-up sort of like drawing scenarios, I always think about like those scenes in shoujo mangas where, you know, like the flower petals are falling and you're really up close to the character's face and you can see the shimmers on their lips, you can see the sparkles in their eyes and the little blushes on their face. Maybe that's where I got it from, because I really like drawing blushes on characters in high depth. But like I said before, it's probably because it's a moment of intimacy, it's a moment of being reassured and letting your guard down and, you know, letting you feel what you want to feel. Maybe that's why I really like it a lot. I really like a lot of romantic moments like that, where a character A recognizes how much they really love this person, or just continuing being bewildered, yes, words are hard, by this person that they really fallen for. And I always love those scenes. Like, even to this day, I still very much giggle and get very giddy when a very, very touching and romantic scene happens, and it's done so super well. I think the one time I remember that being as of a couple of years ago, which I actually watched Kimi mi Toke for the first time. It was when the two main love interests like sort of like confess to one another, and then just like their embrace, and you can hear the heartbeat of like, oh my god, this is so cute. I love those like intimate moments. Like, it gets me so much. Like, I don't care at what age I'm at, whether I was like 13 or whether I'm at now. It's like that's still gonna get me, and it's always so it always makes my heart go a doki. Oh yeah, we're doing the eyes. Like I said previously in the last episode of Draw and Smile, I love drawing, shading the eyes. It's always fun doing the highlights and doing the shadows and stuff. It really makes them pop out. And honestly, looking back at this, because I drew this back in February or January, I honestly don't remember, I'm just like noticing, just looking at the colors of it, it gives a very warm and kind of coolish, because it's kind of like warm in the face, but kind of like cool in the eyes, because, you know, the eyes are, you know, a bit on the bluish, the kind of purplish side of things. Shide, yes. And I don't know, it's when I look back at this, it kind of looks like a very comforting, it looks like a very relaxed and reassuring drawing, because like I said, it's a very vulnerable state, and yeah, I really like I said, I really like the more vulnerable side of characters, and, you know, characters being shocked, I'm like, oh, that's my thing. Also, something I like to do when it comes to like redraws, especially when it comes to Gravitation, shading hair with oil, water, brush. I usually try to exaggerate more of the facial expression if the original scene lacks more facial expression depth, because in the original screenshot, I feel like this is just my opinions about how the character would be structured. I feel like Shuichi would have a very soft face, and I feel like they're trying to come across that in the scene, but like I feel like he would have a little bit more of a rounder face. So when Yuki puts his like his two loving yaoi hands, honestly his hands are actually not that bad, when he puts like his hands on Shuichi's face, I feel like it would like squeeze it a little bit, because like he's he's like, you're being cute like my world, and it'd be super cute. And then Suichi would be super duper shocked because like in the original screenshot, he's just like, oh, I don't know. In the original screenshot, it looks kind of like off-putting, but like I try to make it like, like it's like he's shocked, but like he's very flustered about it, you know? Like he's like in the original screenshot, he just looks like he's super duper spacing out. I don't know. It doesn't look like he's looking at like Yuki at all. He's just like, ah. Like thinking at it now, just like in that context, is hilarious to me. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I usually try to exaggerate some facial expressions so that way you can definitely like tell what the character is feeling at that moment, like full on flustered and just like engulfed in that person. And this is something I usually do for funsies. And like I said, it's usually not only for Gravitation, but it's also for other boys love or yaoi anime that have not so great quality that I wish that it could have. I usually just kind of do like some edits just for fun, to mess around with the color, to mess around with the facial expression. I did a lot for a couple of shows, but I'll throw up a couple I did for Gravitation just for the context of the subject of the video. I try to keep close to the OVA's color because I think the colors look really nice. I give the color differences between Yuki and Suichi's skin color, and in a lot of scenarios I like to make them a little bit more expressive in the facial department, and also try to give a little bit more detail in the hair too, which I understand in a lot of scenarios it's, you know, hard to keep hair in a consistent style as it's done in the sort of reference picture. But at least it doesn't kind of go off model. Like, you can still tell like the character as who they are. There are definitely other shows that kind of deal with storyboard issues that I won't mention, but if you know, you know. But yeah, I don't know. Doing fun edits like that, you know, of course I don't claim them for my own. Like, I didn't make the anime. Or did I? Honestly, I've been doing so many of these redraws at this point. Like I said before, I just might as well just remake the anime. Like, hey, anyone out there, you want to make the Gravitation anime? Because I know there are still some hidden Gravitation fans out there. You know who you are. I see you posting on Twitter and DeviantArt. We can rise up. Artists rise up. We can make the Gravitation anime reboot, and it'll be great. We can also make it go by the manga for a good bit, and then fix some story issues. We can do this together. It'd be great. I don't mind keeping Yuki as a tsundere with past problems, of course. We can just fix a lot of issues with the past problems, because that's a whole other can of worms. Like I said, I'll review Gravitation in the future, because I will unlock that can of worms, and it's looking back on it, I didn't notice it as an issue at first, but god dang. Oof. The last couple episodes of Gravitation and plot-wise are just kind of oof if you look at it at a realistic viewpoint, and you're just like, what this doesn't, that just makes things worse. But anyways, now we're doing the highlights, and I really like how these turned out. It's probably one of my favorite parts when it comes to like doing these redraws, to kind of come close a little bit to doing the highlights of how it's done, like all across the hair like that. I kind of still do that with my personal art, honestly, and it really does make it stick out a lot more. I do a good couple of strains of it because I felt like with a lot of my past drawings, not just like in like digital, but in traditional too, I kind of went too heavy on the hair. Like, I would only be detailed with the hair, do everything unimaginable to the hair, and then everything else in the drawing, it just looks like a sack of potatoes. Like, everything is just too plain looking, and the hair is just extremely detailed. I have a good plethora of drawings that are like that, and I've definitely learned to put the same amount of detail into other parts of the drawing rather than just the hair, so it's always good to practice, you know, rendering, shading into other parts rather than just hair. Because for a lot of artists, hair is probably one of the more difficult parts to get right. For me, it's a lot of fun. It's just hands, which, by the way, those hands are definitely not the greatest in the drawing, but you can tell that they're hands. And they're actually not that big. They're not like weird yaoi hand size, because trust me, if you know the stereotype of a lot of yaoi manga or yaoi anime is that characters have really big hands that like literally take over the entirety of your torso or your stomach and everywhere on your body. You have the really wide shoulders and you have the small head, so you look like a Koopa from the Super Mario Brothers live action movie. And like you have like the very like super aggressive seme, which I should give a 101 lesson to what a seme and a uke is. So a seme is basically the dominant male in the relationship and who is exclusively the top, while the uke, or how I used to call it yuki, but it's, you know, there's no y in it, so it's uke, is exclusively the bottom, usually cries a lot, which, I mean, it's okay to, of course it's okay to cry, but in some of these scenarios, I'm like, I don't know, it's strange. It's always good to get out your emotions, but I don't know. I mean, mostly crying is when it comes to the butt stuff, you know, that's mostly what I'm getting at. I understand butt stuff can hurt, but there's probably situations where it's probably not that bad. I don't know. I'm just guessing. And, yeah. Nowadays, I really don't like using those like terminologies to describe any kind of couple because, hey, anyone can top and anyone can bottom. It's all good. It's 2020. We can all accept this at this point, you know? And it's not bad for couples to be exclusively top or bottom. And it's not bad if couples want to switch it around for a couple times. But just to be like, you bottom, you top. Don't change my mind. I think it's a pretty weird mindset to have. So it's a terminology it's a terminology in like middle school that I was accustomed to while getting into like yaoi and boys love or anything really or even like yuri or whatever. Like it's definitely not a mindset to really have, in my opinion, to me nowadays. It's just something I really don't think about that much anymore. It's just like, hey, let's two have a good established relationship and that's all that matters, you know? And that's all that matters. So yeah. I really did not talk about, well, I did talk a good bit about art, but you know, talking about just like boys love as a whole is also very important too, and I'm glad that it's evolved over the years. I really am glad that better representation, like I said before, is being presented for anyone in the LGBT spectrum, anyone in that spectrum. I'm glad there is better representation and actually are treated like human beings and not just like stereotypes or just a fetish, because yes, like these sorts of things can be fetishized, and I feel like back then there wasn't really any good sources of good representation, so it was taken more as a fetish rather than something to be taken as normal, because people who love different types of people are the same as anyone else. So I'm glad that it's evolved in a way that that people have better representation of it. So yeah, I give kudos. I give a good clap to any kind of story that does good LGBT representations well. So I claps to thee. So also shading clothes. Electric Boogaloo. I'll talk about it more because I'll always talk about how I love shading clothes. It's fun. I love doing the faults and stuff. Definitely when it comes to shading with faults and stuff, you just really gotta really pay attention to how the faults would work, how the shadows would work with the faults and stuff. It definitely is a time process when it comes to just shading clothes. Like, it can be a hassle, but when you get that really good shading on the clothes, you're just like, I did good. I did so good. 10 out of 10, good shading of clothing. It just rendered so well, and I'm really happy with it. Let's see, anything else to talk about with art? So, like I said, it's always good to practice with different sorts of subject matters. Like, for example, like I brought up earlier, hands don't look the greatest here, but that makes me understand that, hey, I just need to practice a little bit more with how hands work. Because even with any good artist, a lot of artists always talk about how hands are the devil. How they are just a pain to just get used to drawing, because hands could do all sorts of crazy things. They have crazy structures. Like, it's maddening what hands can do. And feet are also really hard to draw too. Feet are just weird. Feet are just weird versions of hands. I don't know which is worse to draw, hands or feet. I feel like they kind of like correlate in the middle. It's just, to me, it's still something I still kind of struggle with, but I still try to practice the structure with good sources and good tutorials, and you know, using real life references is always a good thing too. You know, it's always good to just do random doodles and stuff, but it's never a bad idea to use references for what you're struggling with in a drawing, because I feel like in some cases there's this weird stigma that it's bad to use references, it's bad to trace, but tracing is good as long as you don't claim it as your own. Tracing can be learned as, it can be used as a learning experience for artists that are struggling with a certain subject or even beginning with art. As long as you just don't claim it as your own, it is not a bad idea to trace. Just like I said, don't post anywhere and try to claim it as your own. I would just recommend just like doing it at, you know, not posting it, but just like a way for you to learn and stuff. And then, you know, when you actually draw the subject matter that you were struggling with, of course you post that because you made it on your own and didn't trace or whatever. And using real life reference, you can really see how anatomy of a human, or how like environments are structured, or color theory and stuff, of how certain films use color theory. Like, I would give one of the best examples for color theory, which was Perfect Blue, which it utilizes the color red the entirety of the time of the movie because of the scenes that it's involved in. I highly recommend watching Perfect Blue. It's probably my favorite from Satoshi Kon. And if you've seen the movie, you'll probably understand what I mean when the color red is used in certain scenes when it tries to perceive. And even though this hand didn't turn out great, I actually do like the shading on the hand. I think the shading on the hand actually turned out pretty good. And I don't know why I put like the little details of like the nails, even if I didn't really do anything with the nails whatsoever. It's just like that extra little oof, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I might do another Gravitation redraw because, hey, I mean, like, not on the channel, but as a free time thing, because I don't know, it's strangely fun to do these Gravitation redraws of how I would, you know, take on these scenes in my style. So yeah, they're fun. They're really fun. And that's why the whole Sailor Moon one is like always trending. Like, is that one specific? Keep in mind, I've never watched the Sailor Moon anime. I'm like currently reading the manga. I'm like up to like volume 7, 8, and it's that one. It's like this one scene of her just like looking kind of like defeated or worried on the ground, and like it does have some really nice colors in it, so I can understand why people redraw it. And like you just see like these variations of art styles, and it's really fascinating of how people approach these screenshots in their own style. So definitely I recommend redrawing from like an anime. It's really great. And I just choose Gravitation because, like I said, Gravitation's quality is bonkers to me. And that's why I usually choose it, and plus, like I said, attachment to the anime or the source of it. So yeah, I mean, like, even though I am still not completed with Sailor Moon, I'm probably definitely gonna get to that, you know, redraw meme, just because of the aesthetic of it, because, you know, you can always draw because of the purpose of the aesthetics as well too. And you know, people usually base an entire story around aesthetic. For an example, I'm actually writing a story that takes place in the 1980s because I really like the aesthetic of the 1980s, of their fashion and their use of technology and stuff, and etc. So that's why I'm doing it in the 80s, and also probably doing some commentary on certain subjects in the 80s and such, and how things were perceived back then rather than they were now. I'm even into like weird like aesthetics, like the early 2000s fashion. To be fair, it is kind of just putting random clothing together, like, hey, today I'm just gonna walk outside with my boot jeans with my skirt on, or I'm just gonna wear an entire clothing of just jeans all around, or I'm just gonna walk outside in my pajamas, or something. I don't know. The early 2000s was just a weird time, and people were like, is this how we dress in the future? Like, do we like just dress in a bunch of like weird, like a tank top with a short, no, not a short, with like a long sleeve underneath it? It's a lot. Early 2000s had a lot going on with its fashion, but it has like this weird sort of like nostalgic vibe going for it because I grew up in the early 2000s, so that's probably why I have such nostalgia for that weirdness and all the weird like early kind of like techno things and the music and stuff. Like, I'll listen to TATU until the day I die. Like, I still like TATU. I'll still listen to early 2000s beats. Like, I vibe with it. And maybe that's why I like the Gravitation OVA soundtrack and the original television show's soundtrack so much. It's just, it vibes in that earliness of like, it's like the late 90s and the early 2000s vibe that I strangely like in tone. So yeah. Hands shading, like I said, turned out really good. And in some scenarios, I do add a little bit more darker shade so I can make the art pop out. Because usually what I really want to do for myself is, when it comes to my art, I want to make the drawing pop out. And if you see it from like a far distance, you can see the details from far and even up close. And I really do think that with the thickness of the outline and the colors, I think it does look really nice to the eye. I'm still really proud of this one. Like, it looks very appealing, and yeah, like I said, it's good to give yourself a pat on the back. It's good to recognize what you need to work on, but it's also good to recognize what you can do. So that's important for anything. So yeah, yeah, the early 2000s is just, it's weird. Early 2000s, we had like these like, it was just like a trial and error in the early 2000s. Like, check out this like phone that like flips, like flip phones. I still love them. I really want those like touchscreen phones, like the flip touchscreen phones. I think those are really cool. Or like there's like this one. It was like this like robotic dog. I have one of those and it was great. I thought it was like the future. Like, it was an interesting time. The early 2000s was such an interesting time, and I still really like those times. It's still really good. Today's tea of the video is passion tea. It is a herbal tea with passion fruit and other stuff in it, but I forgot. Oh, it has like hibiscus orange peels? I don't entirely remember what's in it, but yeah, we have a herbal tea tonight because at night you don't want to stay up late. But I know I will be. But I don't want to be on caffeine because herbal teas are non-caffeinated. But if you get like, you know, like white tea or like black tea or green tea, those are caffeinated. Even though there are caffeinated versions of green tea. I'm not sure about black or white teas, if they're caffeinated or not. Or decaffeinated or not. So yeah, there's my little tea of the night. Next time I'll probably have another herbal tea in the next episode, but keep an eye on that. If you want new teas recommendations, put in the comments. Also, let's talk about speaking of weird fashion, I will talk about the weird fashion that Suichi has in the show. Like, he has like, I think it's not that it's weird, but it's just strange. Like, Suichi has like 2 orange hoodies. One of them is like plain orange, and one of them is like orange but with like black stripes. And then like he has like this weird outfit with like orange sleeves and like a pink like overlaying like button-up shirt. That one I never really liked on him, but in the OVA and the original show, I really liked his concert outfits, and I really want to cosplay it still to this day. I've been out of the cosplay game for so long, but hear me out on this. If I ever do, and I'm going to, it's not a whenever, it's going to be when, because I'm totally going to be reviewing Gravitation. If you want me to do it while wearing the concert outfit from the anime, I will do it. I will have fun with it because I still want to cosplay that outfit even after, like, what, 10 years later of being into Gravitation. I will do it. I'll do it for my boy. I'll do it for my past self, who would probably be very happy that I cosplayed Suichi in the concert outfit. Because it's so cute, because it's like this cute crop top piece with like these cute booty short, like leather, like top and bottom, these cool like belted boots, and like this kind of like cool long raincoat outfit, and like these gloves. I love it. It's great. I love it so much. It's even, I forgot, I don't 100% remember what it looks like in the OVA, but still good. Still a good look for Suichi. And I like how in the OVA all he really wore as this like casual outfit is just like 2 tank tops I'm like, mood. Me too. Like, literally I do that on my lazy days. I just wear like a black tank top and I just chill out. I'm like, sup. You know, just chilling on my bed, just playing Animal Crossing when I could be productive. But you know, I'm still trying to get like Fang or Coco or Mary in my town. Like, I mean, at least I got Bob in my town. That's all that matters right now to me. Like, you know, I could want all these other Animal Crossing villagers, but at least I got Bob, and that's what all that matters to me. And I think here I'm just doing some final highlights in the art piece. Because I usually like to, like I said, I usually like to do highlights for last, but then I do like other types of highlights last, more brighter highlights. Because I have like, it's like medium highlights, and then the final big highlights, which I do admit they do kind of consist of white. I do for the medium highlights, you know, a lighter version of the original color, but with like the eyes, the little eye thing. I usually just use white. It just makes it pop out a lot more. And like I said, I usually like that for my art. I like to make it pop a lot, so it looks nice. I'm really proud of myself. And now I'm gonna take a sip of my tea. Also, a little mini rant. Well, it's not really a rant, it's just something I've noticed with a lot of yaoi and a lot of BL. Good soundtracks in a lot of them. Even if I'm not a big fan of them, a lot of the music's really good. Like, I am not the biggest fan of Julie Romantica or Sekaiichi Hatsukoi, but god dang, the soundtracks are super duper good. And those, like, you have like really, really good violent, emotional tracks and really cute, like, romantic sounding tracks. I'm like, I don't know how to feel because I don't really like the romantic chemistry between some characters, but oh man, the music in a lot of these sound great. And I probably will do a review on both Julie Romantica and Sekaiichi Hatsukoi because I do want to go back and try to find some good qualities in them. I mean, like, there's always good and bad in a lot of shows. Except if you're like Boku no Sexual Harassment or like School Days, then you're immediately in the dumpster. Like Boku no Sexual Harassment is like the pinnacle of really bad, like, yaoi. Like people would point to that and be like, "Yep, that's the problem." And I'm like, I agree. As I sip my tea. But yeah, there's a lot of them. Like, Hero Dreaming My Hero. I think Loveless, even though, like I said, I'm not a big fan of Loveless either. I think that one has a really good soundtrack. Dokusei has a really great soundtrack. The minimalistic guitar music. I really love the simple, quiet music that Dokusei has. Given is all about music, so that also has really good music. And of course, the previous mentioned Gravitation has a really poppin' soundtrack. I think Fake has a good soundtrack. I don't know, I didn't really dive into the Fake soundtrack at all whatsoever, but I believe the music was actually pretty okay. Though, I feel like Fake was more about the murder mystery rather than the romance itself, even though there are some slices of romance in there, which I can appreciate. It is based off, like, the second volume of the manga of Fake. But yeah, definitely if you're watching, like, a BL or, like, a yaoi, definitely keep an ear out for the music, because the music is probably going to surprise you of how good it is. There was one specific, Boys Love Anime, which I haven't watched yet because I'm saving it for the show, for the Yaoi Closet. And I'll put the anime what it is, because for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it. But I watched only a little bit of the anime, like the first couple of, like, minutes of it. And, like, the opening soundtrack was, like, gorgeous. I'm like, what is it doing here? I mean, the scene that it was playing over was perfectly fit, because the opening scene was very dramatic. But I'm like, this is some powerful stuff. This is, like, something that would be, like, in a video game or something. I was not expecting this, like, powerful, hardcore violin music. Which, by the way, violin is probably, like, my second favorite instrument, because my first favorite instrument is, like, the piano, because I play the piano, and it's... Both of those, like, instruments combined just, like, blow my heart away. And that's why I like the Kingdom Hearts soundtrack so much, because there's a lot of that in there. But, yeah, that one specific show just has that very, very dramatic, very just emotional driven soundtrack. I'm like, out of anything, I was very surprised. But yeah, shoot, man. But yeah, like I said, if you ever just like randomly stumble across a boys love or a yaoi anime, perk up your ears because you might hear a good soundtrack that you want to save and make a playlist called Boys Love Music, because god dang, this stuff is surprisingly good. I think I literally have a playlist called that in my iTunes library because I was like, there's a lot. There's actually a good plethora of yaois and BL that actually have really good soundtracks. And also Dramatical Murder too. Both the game and the anime. Poppin' soundtracks because it's Goatbed. Goatbed be doing a good job with the music. Even though I never heard... No, I have heard another track by Goatbed. It's called like, Yanham? I don't know. It just sounds really relaxing. It's like something that just like silently groove to when you're like driving in the car. I think I'm just doing like some extra details in the background. I think later on, I do add a little bit of overlay so the colors might change just a little bit over Suichi. It's not like anything drastic. Kiss anime. I love that on the screenshot that I took from Google Image because, you know, I get bored. I'm like, what gravitation theme can I redraw today? What's in the market? Because why not? But yeah, I guess I'm like trying to copy it as close as possible with the background color without it being too, like I said, saturated. Oh yeah, and this, I remembered this. So remember when like older anime came in that square ratio? Because I have the DVD set of Gravitation where it's like the square ratio, and that's in, you know, the screenshot looks like that. So I was trying to like capture the square screen ratio. Like that happened until like I don't know when like the screen ratio just like, well, until like widescreen TVs became more of a thing. So it's like a square, and it gives like this very like retro look to it, because I have a different version of this drawing that I will show at the very end of the speed paint, in which I kind of make it look like a VHS tape, and I kind of like have the overlay, and it looks nice. I do like the yes, I really like this. I really like the little light in the eyes. I don't know. I think I did a really good job of making them pop. I just really like it. I took my own take to it. In the original version of the screenshot, it's like, it looks a little bit more blurred or like feathered. I don't know. I just kind of make it like a solid. There's my, okay, so I have a lot of stories that I want to write, but a lot of them have a lot of romantic elements in it. In fact, all of them are like romantic stories. Whenever you read my comics, whenever I write them, take a shot. Anytime I have a romantic scene and I put a heart in the eye, I don't know, it's a thing. It's like a trademark of my art. I just have to put hearts in the eyes of a character is having romantic moments, romantic feelings, in a romantic scenario. I gotta do it. I gotta give them the cute little heart in the eye. Like artists have like the trademark stuff, like something I noticed that the Sergeant Frog manga artist always has the human characters blushing, and I think some of the frog characters blushing. And I definitely won't always consistently make characters blush for the series, is only just in romantic scenarios, but you would just notice that in Sergeant Frog in the manga, they're always blushing. I'm like, huh, that's something I didn't notice until like recently, so that's interesting. So I think I decided not to put the extra blush in it, because I was like, it doesn't really add anything to it. I think like the simple, just faded blush works for it really well. So I think I combined the color layers, and that's where I'm going to do the overlay of a more pinkish, I think it's like a soft pink or like a soft reddish color over it to give it a more warmer or a more cooler color. No, it's do I use multiply or do I use overlay or screen? Tell me past self, what do I use? No, I don't. Which one do I use? Tell me. Tell me, past self, what are you doing? Oh, I use... What am I doing? Past self, what have you done? Oh yeah, I do use that. I think it's overlaid that I use, but yeah. It's very warm, like I said. I want it to be a very warm and very cozy drawing, because it's a scene of vulnerability. It is overlay, yeah. It's a scene of vulnerability. It's very warm, and it's nice. is nice. What happened to the overlay? Did I not keep it? I mean, it still looks nice and warm and inviting. So, there we go. Yeah, I'm doing like the last finishing stuff, and I believe this is all that I can give for the drawing. It was nice to talk about boys love. It was nice to talk about gravitation, because I'll find any excuse about gravitation if you just pull me in the scenario and do so. But yeah, I think I just do a little bit, one more of the highlights, which is just plain white, like I said before. It's always a joy to draw Suichi Shindo. It really is. He's my sunshine child. I have a lot of sunshine childs. They're all my precious baby boys and baby childrens and stuff. And this will not be the last time I draw him. Guarantee. And when the Gravitation reboot comes out in 2030, I'm kidding. But if it does happen, I'll be like, hey, I was the one who stuck by. Even though I have issues with you today, but I stuck by. I still hold you deep in my heart because you're the one who really got me passionate about getting into shows. So thank you, Gravitation. Thank you for always doing that for me. Thank you for letting me be passionate about creating love stories, creating characters with different backstories to one another, and letting their worlds collide. It's fun. So it's when I pop in the Gravitation DVD from time to time, it's always a good time. Like I said, even if I have issues, no matter what, I always come back feeling good afterwards. So yeah, extra highlights, and I think that might be it. I guess I didn't keep the overlay, huh? I guess I just realized that I really didn't need it, which I'm glad that I didn't kind of choose to have the overlay over it, which, I mean, the second picture, the colors look different because I did the whole VHS look to it, so I think I was like, yeah, let's do a different version. And yeah, I think this is the end of it. What am I doing? What am I doing? What are any of us doing? Oh, okay, that was the end of the speed panel. It's just like, I am close. So, this is the final piece right here. This is the first version. Looking actually pretty nice. Like I said, I'm very proud of it. And here is the second version, which has a little bit more of a brighter tone to it, a brighter look to it. And I actually put the subtitles on it like it's an actual screenshot from the anime. And back in the day, a lot of anime subtitles consist of very bright yellow subtitles, which I understand why they did it, but it could be very distracting, so they nowadays usually switch to white subtitles. And yeah, I really liked how this turned out. And I hope you lovelies enjoyed today's episode of Draw and Smile. I understand that these can be a little bit lengthy. Let me know if you want these episodes to be a bit shorter, if you want them to be at least 30 minutes long, because that's honestly, personally, what I would cut it down to. Personally, I don't mind talking for an hour. I can literally talk for more hours, but I would probably limit it to an hour. But you lovelies let me know which you would prefer better. And yeah, who knows what I'm going to be drawing next time for Draw and Smile. It just depends on what I feel like filming at the time. And, you know, filming things that are definitely appropriate for YouTube, because I do some anatomy, which tends to equal nudity, which, you know, I would love to draw on the channel, but YouTube will be like, no. So, it's basically depending on whether it'll be fan art or original art or concepts that I'm working on, because I would love to go into detail about my characters and stories and how to story write and how to design characters and such. So, let me lovelies know what you want, or what you would be interested in, because at the end of the day, I draw for myself, and I would love to share my passions with you all. And like I said, it could be fan art, it could be original art. Who knows? Who knows what I'm into at the time? Who knows what I'm feeling, you know? That's just the way of an artist. So once again, I would love to thank you lovelies for watching all the way through. Tell me of an anime or a video game or anything that you held dearly to you for a good time, even though you're not into it as much anymore, that you found a little bit of issues with, but you still hold it very dear to you. I would love to read your guys' response. You know, like I said, case in point, mine is Gravitation. I would love to hear your lovelies on what your version of that is in the comment section below. And to all you artists who are still continuously working hard with your art, and any beginners out there, you lovelies are doing absolutely amazing. You're pushing yourself to the maximum that you could, but please do remember to take breaks, because as it is important to draw, it is also important to realize when you need to take a break and breathe, because, you know, it's just good to call it, you know, a break, because you don't always want to overwork yourself. You deserve rest because you've been working hard, and, you know, things can get a little tough and you can feel frustrated with yourself, but with just the right amount of rest and just the right amount of knowledge, I know you can get pretty far in life. I believe in you all, like, in infinity and beyond percent. I believe in you, lovelies. I always will. But yeah, that will be it for today's episode of Draw and Smile. Keep moving forward with your passions, keep being your lovely selves, and I hope this still can be a place where we can all smile together, my lovelies. I will see you in the next episode or any other videos that I'm doing at this time. So rest up easy, get some sleep, and yeah, you're worth it. You're beautiful. Keep being you. Peace, my lovelies.